It's Pierre, Dan, and Kyle, who's on the set of Mad Men. We have some breaking Leafs news, Pierre. Anthony Stolarz in the starter's net at Leafs practice this morning. Hasn't played since November 11th. Is Stolarz finally back?
I'd be shocked if he didn't play tonight against Vegas, Dan. The truth of the matter is usually that's net is reserved for the guy that's going to play just so they can get comfortable, get their sight lines going, and be ready to go that night. So if he doesn't play, it's a great form of misdirection, but I'd be shocked if he didn't play. The last time these two teams played, Joe Woll played, and Vegas won 6-5 in overtime on a Jack Eichel game-winning goal. So I don't see what Toronto has to lose by playing Anthony Stolarz tonight.
Generally speaking, Pierre, the Leafs goaltending throughout this stretch of good fortune they've had recently has been pretty strong. So what does this do to the back end of the Leafs, that this is the one area that they really haven't had too many concerns with over the last few weeks?
It's a great point, Kyle. I don't know what they're thinking here except to say that maybe they've seen something from Stolarz that they like, whether he was practicing in the American Hockey League or practicing with the big team. And eventually, I think they always thought that he was going to be their number one guy, even though obviously the injuries and let's just say the helter-skelter start to the season for Anthony Stolarz. But I got to believe that they think he's ready to play and going to be their best opportunity to get a win tonight against Vegas, which they have to do, by the way. They have to win.
So hasn't played since November 11th. As a coach, do you like a goalie to be in this position? Because you know the pressure is on him. He knows the spotlight is on him. He's got to stop the damn puck or he's out of a job.
Damn, you know the biggest thing, Dan, about what you just talked about, and it's really important. If you don't know the goalie's makeup as a coach, then you're probably in trouble. So if you don't think he can handle this moment, regardless as to how good he is athletically, don't put him in. They probably know how intense and how strong this guy is mentally, and they're very comfortable putting him into this situation. So this is when I defer to the expertise of the staff and the people around Craig Berube.
So if he is back and he is fully healthy and he is playing to the level he's capable of, who's the number one goaltender for this hockey team?
I think Anthony Stolarz is still the best goalie they have. Doesn't mean Joe Woll won't eventually be, and it doesn't mean Hildeby won't push. But I think Stolarz is actually the best pure goaltender they have right now. He's just got to get in there and prove it. Let's go back to last year. He was a steal of free agency for Toronto. He was outstanding last year. And if he doesn't get hurt, Toronto probably beats Florida, but he does get hurt and they don't beat Florida. And so now they lose Mitch Marner. Now they are where they are and they got to start winning. That's the reality of it.
You mentioned Mitch Marner makes his return. We discussed this previously, and I think the consensus among all of us was they will show the video tribute. They will give him a very big round of applause, maybe a standing ovation, but every time he touches the puck, there will be boos. For Marner and his Vegas teammates, Marner's putting up a lot of cash on that board.
I would imagine he would be. But I bet a lot of the guys there really like him. Like, I'm sure Jack Eichel loves playing with him. I would say that the coaching staff probably coaches better because he's on their team. I can't see that anybody wouldn't want to go the extra mile to help him get a win in Toronto tonight.
Austin Matthews in particular has shown a great deal of frustration in the season, and especially lately with the two head-to-head matches, and how much the media is talking about this. But it was the biggest offseason story, and it's not really out of play for the media to be discussing. But after tonight, do we hear it a lot less because they've now faced them on both teams' ice? They've gotten the boos out of their system. The video tributes have been played. Is tonight the night that this fan base and this media moves on from Mitch Marner?
I sure hope so. It's over. I mean, he doesn't play for Toronto anymore. The damage is done both ways. He's moved on. Hopefully the Leaf fans can move on after tonight. They'll be fully engaged, I'm sure. But the truth is that he was a real good Toronto Maple Leaf. He's moved on. Hopefully the Leafs can continue to move on in a positive way, not a negative way. But I love the way you pose that question, Kyle, because the truth of the matter is, it's become a story that's kind of taken on a life of its own, but it's time for everybody to move past it after tonight, I believe.
The Toronto Maple Leafs into play, again, outside the playoff picture. They've probably I wouldn't say probably, they have mapped out the season. They put it into segments, and they know what they need to do from here on out. But chasing the Sabres and Bruins, Panthers on the outside of the playoff picture, the East continues to just flip and flop every single night, it seems.
The biggest thing about the East right now is not so much the Metropolitan Division, it's the Atlantic Division where the Leafs play. And you look at Detroit and you look at Tampa and you look at Montreal. And I can tell you right now, watching Buffalo and Montreal last night, Buffalo Sabres are for real. They're not a flash in the pan kind of team. They're big, they're fast, they're nasty, and they're well coached. That's a problem for everybody. If you look at Toronto's next 3 games, they're all on home ice. You got Vegas, you got Colorado, and you got Buffalo. Before you head out to on the road, you play in Seattle, Vancouver, Calgary, and then into Edmonton, and then you're done for the Olympics. But I would just say this is that anybody discounting the depth of the Atlantic is making a big mistake. And I think the teams that are most proactive going into the trade freeze before the Olympics, they're the teams that are going to give themselves the best chance to win. I think if Toronto stands pat and doesn't make a move before the trade freeze, I'm not sure they're going to have enough ammunition to get into the playoffs.
Okay, so let's explore that, Pierre. What are the moves they could potentially make? Who are buyers? Who are sellers in this market right now? What pieces could the Leafs possibly send packing in order to bring some positivity back to this lineup?
Yeah, I don't know what they'd be in an appetite to move, but look, they need to add, I think, a top 6 forward. They could still add a right defenseman. Rasmus Anderson's already moved on from Calgary. I think Calgary clearly is in play. I think St. Louis is clearly in play. There's a right defenseman there that I think a lot of people would be, 2 of them actually, in Colton Parayko and Justin Falk. I don't know what they would do with some of their other players in St. Louis. But if you look around, I think you're going to see in the next couple of days, some teams are going to realize this isn't going to happen for us this year. Let's try to move some assets around and try to make those assets even more valuable than what they are. But I think if you're not making moves in the next 5 to 7 days, if you're a team like Toronto or Florida that's trying to chase it, you're probably not going to make it. And I would tell you this right now. The word on the street is Florida Panthers are in play. They're ready to do business. And I know that Kyle's down there right now. I'm telling you right now, they're not standing pat. Florida's going to make a play. They're going to do something.
How about the Rangers? It's going to be a fire sale there.
Yeah, it is. Panarin obviously is the number 1 guy. It's a great point. It's hard to get a beat on what they're doing there. They make so much stuff personal. Like you look at the moving of Jacob Trouba, you look at the moving of Barclay Goodrow, you look at the moving of Chris Kreider. None of those were hockey deals. They were not hockey deals. They were, we're going to show you who's the boss kind of deals. The one deal that they made that was a hockey deal was Keandre Miller going to Carolina, and they brought back Scotty Morrow, who's trust me, he's a really nice young defenseman out of the University of Massachusetts at Amherst. But is he as good or better than Keandre Miller? I don't think so, not at this point in his career. So, and that's really the only hockey deal they made. Let's remember, too, they moved Capo Caco because they didn't think he was good enough as a 2nd overall player. That brought back Will Borgen. And then they signed Borgen to an extension, and he's been just pedestrian this year. I think Rangers got a lot of soul searching to do in terms of how they want to build their organization going forward.
Pierre, just to answer your question, Tony Danza. That's who the boss was.
I always thought it was Mona personally, but hey, I'm not here to argue with you, Dan.
That's very good, Dan.
Pierre, in fairness, the only thing worse than no trade is a bad trade. So should the Leafs end up standing pat with the lineup they have right now, guys coming back to the lineup, Ekman Larson, Carlo, Henry Thurn-Recall from the AHL, things like that going on, how realistic is it that this team could make a playoff run or even be competitive in the playoffs as is?
Depends on if Nylander's back playing or not. Nylander's a big key to this whole thing. You go back to the game they lost in Vegas when they pulled him after almost 2.5 minutes. He had a goal and an assist in that game, and then he couldn't play anymore. Willie's an important part of this team, just like Austin's an important part of this team. Could they go on a run? I don't think they can go on a run as a team is constructed right now. I don't.
Should we be talking more about the Colorado Avalanche? They're 34-5-9 through 48 games. Though that's astounding.
They're two teams that aren't getting enough love, and they're just built differently. One is Colorado. They've been outstanding. They deserve a huge amount of credit. Nathan McKinnon has been phenomenal. But you look at the depth of their team. You look at their depth players, a guy like Ross Colton, a guy like Jack Drury, just phenomenal to watch these guys. Their depth on defense, just overwhelmingly good. But the other one are the Pittsburgh Penguins. The Pittsburgh Penguins have played unbelievably well under Dan Muse. And just to what Dan was talking about, what about the Rangers? The Rangers had Dan Muse there as an assistant coach last year under Peter Laviolette and with Phil Housley as the other assistant. Muse goes to Pittsburgh as the head coach. Mike Sullivan with his whole staff goes to New York. Pittsburgh Penguins are crushing the New York Rangers right now. In a million years, nobody thought that Mike Sullivan would be in this position with the Rangers. And in a million years, nobody thought Dan Muse and the Pittsburgh Penguins would be a relevant team right now in the Eastern Conference playoff hunt. Those two teams, Colorado and Pittsburgh, have done unbelievable things this year.
Kyle Dubas does it again.
Well, Kyle Dubas didn't get enough credit there. And one of the things I'll give Kyle credit for, he realized that going straight analytics is flawed. And he talked about it with his fourth line. Connor Dewar, Blake Lizotte, and Noel Acciari are not analytic darlings. If you were to talk to anybody that watches the Penguins a lot or is around their team, that line has stabilized their group. And to his credit, Kyle Dubas said, I made some fundamental mistakes earlier in my career. I didn't pay attention to character enough. That's a shot at too much analytics, not enough eye test.
Pierre, I'm curious your thoughts. Some of these NHL teams are going to benefit more from this break than others because certain teams have their key core players away. Like you look at the Leafs, for example, both Austin Matthews and assuming he is healthy again, Nylander will be playing over this break. What do these players do that aren't playing with their off time when there's this much time between games? Are they given conditioning programs to loosely follow, or are they all down in Mexico?
No, most of those guys are professional. They probably will go away on vacation. But the truth is that they're pros. They understand they're still getting paid. They start practicing. I think they can start practicing in the 17th. So most of the guys will stay in shape. Sure, they'll go down and enjoy some libations or whatever, and they'll be by the beach. But that's not a 24/7 thing. They'll still work out. Even during the All-Star break, guys work out all the time, even though they go away. So I've been around the league a long time. The level of professionalism in the league has never been greater. The guys really care about being pros. I really respect them a lot.
Let's play our game. 1 degree of Pierre McGuire. I turn around, point to a card. Pierre McGuire tells us his connection to this player. I'm going right to my right here so I can read it easily. Oh, it's right below Mick Vakota, who we did last time.
Yeah.
Russ Courtnall. Have we done Russ before?
No, we've never done Russ. Guy from the island, Victoria. Obviously, his brother Jeff played. Russ was an amazing player. Especially, I remember him in Montreal. He was such a darter.
That's where this card's from, Montreal.
There you go. He's such good speed. Could make a difference in a game. I know that, he moved around to a bunch of different teams, but he's a popular guy everywhere he went, and he was way undervalued toughness-wise. He could scrap just like his brother Jeff could. So, no, big fan of the way he played. Love the way he could break a game open with his speed, and he was a fearless player.
In Montreal, looks like he wore number 6.
He did wear number 6.
Was he not once one of the fastest players in the NHL as well?
100% he was. And he did that speed with the puck on his tape. A lot of guys slow down. He used to be one of the guys that could speed up. And I know Pat Burns liked him very much. Pat was a big fan of Russ and the way he played.
Thanks, Pierre. Kyle and I are going to talk a little Blue Jays here now.
You guys are good at that. Look at how appropriate Kyle is dressed for spring training. I just
got here way early.
That's right.
This is my challenge again to you guys. I'd love to do a Toronto Sports Rush segment from Palmetto Bluff, South Carolina, where I live, and we could incorporate baseball, football, and hockey. It would be an amazing show.
Pierre, if you get the funding from our bosses, I'll go anywhere.
Yeah. I'm already halfway there, basically.
Just line it up. You got Paul.
I'm going to try. You guys are the best. Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, buddy. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Kyle, we should address, where are you?
I'm in Miami, Florida now.
Okay.
I'm moving around like Carmen Sandiego at this point. It was Boston yesterday. It was Reno the day before.
Yeah. So in the last week and a half, we've talked to you in Vegas, Reno, and now Miami.
Yeah, well, I'm here to see our friend, Mr. Mike Francesa tomorrow. So I'll be.
Doesn't he live in New York?
Tomorrow. He does, but he has a winter home here, and I'm going to see him.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to see the Pope a day early.
Okay. Wanted to touch upon Bo Bichette. He had his introductory news conference with the Mets, and there's a meme going around because he has an opt-out clause after each year of the 3-year deal. And he was asked about, so is this really a 1-year deal? How should we view this? And he didn't say anything. And then someone took over the answer and they're like, yeah, Bo's only lasting a year here.
Well, when I first heard he went to I have this opinion of the Mets, and particularly the Steve Cohen directed Mets team. Good careers go there to die. And I don't think they're going to be fighting for a World Series anytime soon. I think they're a mess. They promised that they were going to strengthen their infield, and now they got guys playing out of position all over the place there. I think he's going to leave. I think he's going to take his money and leave, but it really depends on how much winning matters to him, because this team will not threaten next year. They're not to be taken seriously, in my opinion. Good for him for getting paid. If the Jays couldn't come close to that number, I guess we know. We don't know. We'll never know. Who really knows? I think he made a mistake going there, but I guess it's never a mistake when you're getting paid that much money.
And then rumors came out that Bo had a fractured relationship with coaches. And I think for any professional athlete, actually for anyone who's ever been in a job, you could say, okay, there were certain people you didn't get along with. I can say from personal experience, after I got let go from my previous place, I saw on some message board, they're like, yeah, he was supposedly a tyrant. He would yell at, I've never yelled at anyone in my life. So rumors swirl after someone leaves a workplace. So I think that was inevitable that something like that would come out, that, yeah, he wanted out, didn't get along with the coaches. But I'm like, maybe there was one coach that maybe they didn't see eye to eye, but I don't think that's the reason.
I would be concerned if a player at that level never butted heads with the head coaching staff. It just seems to me like it's part and parcel with being a player and a star player of that level. You're going to go hard. You're going to have strong opinions on the way you play, the way the game should be played. I imagine this would have something to do with his ability to come back from an injury. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. That's speculation. It's hard to see. He was beloved in that city. I think that's much ado of nothing in all likelihood. But from my perspective, when he didn't get signed very quickly in this offseason, every day that passed, it seemed like the writing was on the wall that he was leaving town. So I wish him the best. He was a great baseball player in Toronto.
And Kyle, we wish you the best. Stay down there because the polar vortex is on the way. There will be parts of Ontario that will be the coldest places on Earth this weekend.
Dan, I'm scheduled to fly into New York City on Sunday morning, but I'll be going online to switch that flight as soon as we stop taping right now. The next time you see me, though, I will probably be somewhere in New York City. So there's that to complete the full Toronto Sports Rush tour of North America.
Travel safe, my friend.
Thank you.